Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for the post-match pint in association with Purity. I'm Dan Bardell, joined by Omar from the Villa Talks podcast. And Omar, a really enjoyable game, really enjoyable victory for Villa tonight. I actually thought Spurs having the fans in worked against them.
Definitely, yeah, and obviously what's gone off the field with Kane probably had an impact as well. Maybe they looked completely out of it, really. Apart from the first 10 minutes when we looked a bit sloppy, they looked terrible. But you got to give credit to Villa. We look like the top 6 team. Let's be honest, we look like a team in the ascendancy, and we look like the Villa from the first few months of the season. That's what we were doing, game in, game out against all the teams, really, and we look fantastic. It's just a shame we didn't obviously cap it off with a few more goals that we should have really got. But a great display, and we'll touch on it in a second, I'm sure, but it really shows you. I know it's been a really frustrating few months. It's been terrible, and we've been critical ourselves about Smith, about the players on here, but you can see the signs of the team that we've got, and then a little hint to the future as well towards the end there as well. So brilliant, fantastic night, great victory against a Spurs team that we never ever seem to win against. So brilliant.
No, man, the last time I remember us winning at Spurs away would have been a Benteke header, the 1-0 on the way to the cup final. I think that was the week before the semi-final at the time when we started to get some momentum and a good old team. But yeah, a really enjoyable performance from Villa. I mean, everything. We saw the bad side of Villa really in the second half against Crystal Palace, but really across the whole 90 minutes there against Spurs, we looked a good outfit. And like you say, back to the Villa that we were enjoying watching before Christmas. A lot to like about that Villa side. A couple of changes to the team, but we looked more solid, more compact, carried a threat on the counter-attack. I mean, I think the number 10 starting does help a little bit with that, but it wasn't just about him. There were some really other good performances as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, apart from the first 10 minutes, which obviously Nakamba was woeful with their goal, but apart from that, I thought he was really great. I thought he played really well, did what he's supposed to do, break up play, win tackles, cover the fullbacks. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Traore really stepped up today because I thought he had an awful game against Palace, but really stepped up today. Watkins full of running, the defense house, Mings target again, Mr. Consistency. Just never has a bad game. Just the whole midfield, McGinn especially as well. I've been sort of
back to his best.
Yeah, I've been critical of him quite a lot in these last few months, but we've seen signs of it, haven't we? At Crystal Palace, we saw the best and worst of McGinn against Everton and games that have gone in the last few games. He's shown glimpses of him being back to his best, but today was a proper John McGinn performance. He dominated that midfield. He won that midfield battle against the likes of Højbjerg and Winks and along with Nakamba, and it made a massive difference because it freed up Jack and Grealish and Grealish and El Ghazi and Watkins on the left hand side to cause chaos, which is what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it took Spurs so long to make a substitution. To be honest, I couldn't believe, because like you say, we absolutely dominated midfield. It was Nakamba who started next to McGinn, and it was Nakamba who obviously was at fault for the first goal. He's a funny player, Nakamba, because weirdly, I think we look better with him in the team. He does the complicated stuff really well, like covering runners, tracking people. He gets in good positions defensively to intercept the ball. But he really struggles with the simple stuff. I mean, you talk about Jack Grealish, he makes everything difficult look so easy. Nakamba's the opposite. He makes the easy stuff look so hard.
Yeah. I think he's one of those players, isn't he? He's a bit like El Ghazi, maybe Traore, Trezeguet. These players who are good squad players and good for certain situations, certain games. But if you want to push on to the next level, they're probably not at that level. But they're good players to have because they can put in performances that win us games. And Nakamba, it's a difficult one because I think if Jack's not playing and we're not firing all cylinders in the attacking third, then someone like Nakamba does stifle you a little bit because you can't then play through midfield, and you need someone like Dougie Luiz to then be the one who's spreading the ball, dictating play, etc. But if you've got Jack firing, Ghazi firing, Watkins firing, then Nakamba is a good player to have, because then you've got a player who can win those balls and get us on the counter straight away, because that's what he does. He wins the ball, keeps it simple, and then we go. And that's what he did really well today. It's one of those players, mate. I don't know, has he got long term? I don't know, but he's a useful player. The criticism he gets, some of it warranted, some of it unwarranted. I think he's a decent player. I think, and I thought against Crystal Palace, he should have come on. I thought that was a mistake by Dino, and he would have been he's a good player to see out a game. I think he's that kind of player, and he's a good player to have in the squad. You need that kind of player. I think from looking at next season, if we can get that type of player, but with the ability and the physical presence to maybe dictate play and be able to play a better style of football, then that's what we're looking for. Basically, a better version of Kamba. And if we can get that, then that's exactly what we need to push on to the next level.
Yeah, it was interesting that he started. Obviously, you spoke about the game before where he didn't come on. It kind of felt like there's a lack of trust in anything better on the bench to come on and try and stem the flow a little bit of the way the game was going. But he's been given the big start today. And in fairness to him, he's been given a few starts. And when he has started, generally, I feel like we've tended to win. And him and McGinn, I feel when he's next to McGinn rather than Louise, McGinn can do more of what he wants to do, more of what he's good at. And he's pressing in the first half, especially. McGinn was winning the ball back for us a number of times, and Nakamba was doing the same. Let's talk about the goal. Obviously, as we've said, a Nakamba mistake. Really nice finish by Bergwijn. Yeah. I thought he did really well, but it was one of those goals. It felt like a typical Villa goal to concede because you've made the initial mistake, and the ball's bouncing around, bobbling around, and there's perhaps chance maybe to make a foul, perhaps to nick the ball, and none of those things happen, and he just runs through and he hits a wonderful finish. I mean, he's barely played a game all season, Bergwijn, but he comes in against us and scores a goal. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about it. It's a mistake.
I mean, it's true.
We haven't dealt with it.
You're expecting the worst, aren't you? As soon as that goal goes in, you think, "Oh, this is it." Because I was talking to some of the other lads from our pod on WhatsApp chat, and we were just saying it's Spurs a bit like Man United for us. In that we can play well, we can play decent football, but they'll get like a lucky goal, or we'll make a mistake, and they'll suddenly be 2 or 3 up, and that's it. The game's done. And as soon as that goal went in, I thought that's it. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be one of those games. But we should do better. I mean, we lose the ball, but Nakamba can nick the ball, can be stronger, and I think McGinn could be stronger as well.
Just make the foul.
Foul him. Yeah, just sort of come together, hold him off. If you get a yellow card, you get a yellow card. As simple as that. Because he's not going to give a red card there when there's 3 or 4 players there. But it's one of those, it happens, and it's one of those. With hindsight, you'd probably have done something a bit differently. But that was really it. Apart from the first 10 minutes where we looked sloppy, I thought we looked a bit lethargic for the first 10 minutes. But then as soon as Jack got into the game, McGinn started dictating, then that's it. We were all flying, all guns blazing after that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the first 10 minutes of either half, I thought that was when Spurs had their little spells at the start of each half. But the reaction was good from Villa. They didn't let their heads drop, made a mistake, and they got their friend out of jail, Nakamba, really, and started to play some really good football. And then, obviously, it wouldn't be a Villa game if there wasn't some kind of VAR disaster for us. And how we have not got a penalty. I mean, I literally sat on my sofa laughing because I just couldn't believe the ref didn't give it. I thought it was quite clear at the time. I think I saw the ref mouth the ball was already out of play, which wasn't true because the ball was still in play. The ball was still in play actually when he wiped him out. 2, what were VAR watching in the booth?
I don't know.
I mean, I've seen some bad performances in a booth before. I worked with Tom Julian for a long time, so I know what it's like to have a bad performance in a booth.
He'd be defending the ref, wouldn't he, Julian?
Oh, no, this season, I tell you, he's been a big miss this season because there's been some absolute howlers, and I would love to see him worm his way out of some of the things that we've seen. But then the VAR have looked at it and just, I'm laughing while I'm speaking about it because how they can watch that back and say that's not a penalty is unbelievable. And again, it comes down to is it a clear and obvious error? I think it probably is. And does the ref not want to go and have a look at the screen and see what's happened and maybe try? I don't know whether he's speaking to VAR and saying, look, I've seen it. This has happened. I've decided it's not a foul, but something's gone amiss there. What on earth has happened for that not to be a penalty? What have we done wrong?
I mean, I don't know if you were like me. The first thing I thought of was, the ref said I was going out of play. I thought, maybe, okay, that makes sense. He thought it was gone and it happened afterwards. But then I thought, as soon as you saw the replay, that's it. It's done. It's a pen. The first thing I thought of, I don't know if you were the same, was the Harry Kane penalty against us.
Yeah, because that was going out of play.
It was out of play. It was literally out of play. And Cash has come in afterwards and he's been given a penalty. So you just want a bit of consistency, and we've all said it. The thing is, though, I understand, it's never going to be consistent because a lot of these decisions are subjective. It depends on who's in the booth at the time and all that kind of stuff. But it never goes for the smaller teams. It never does. It always goes for the bigger teams, the so-called bigger teams. And we haven't had a decision like that go for us this season. I can't think of many, apart from maybe Matty Cash against Southampton where it hit his thigh. But even then, letter of the law, that isn't a penalty, so you understand it. Yeah. But it's clearly a foul. The ball's still in play, and Lloris has just bundled him. He's hit him at the side of a knee, and he's buckled. And it's not even like Watkins is, one of those penalties where you leave a leg in and you wait for the contact. Lloris has sort of put his hands up not to hit him, but he's gone straight through him.
It's so clumsy. It
So
was
clumsy.
so clumsy.
Oh, I just don't understand. And they didn't. And this in a half time, maybe it was a Jamie mentioned it for like a second, but they didn't even look at it
Briefly.
again. They didn't even look at it again. If that was the other way around, they'd be spending 15 minutes looking at that penalty and saying, "Oh, it's a travesty. Harry Kane could have scored a goal in his last ever appearance at White Hart Lane." Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, whatever it's called, the Tottenham Stadium, whatever it's called.
yeah.
I can't remember what the name is, but you know what they'd be like, and it's just. I'm just bored of it. Honestly, I'm so bored of it. I'm bored of talking about decisions like that. It's just, I'm
It was
sick of it.
classic. I mean, we can laugh about it now because obviously we've won the
Yeah.
game and it hasn't cost us at all. But if we'd have drawn or lost today, we'd be
Mm.
on here absolutely raging now. I mean, you say everything's subjective and you're absolutely right. That's why VAR is pointless for me. Because offsides do everyone over. That's just a fact. It
Yeah.
does everyone. No one gets it easy with offsides. Although
Yeah.
again, at the start of the season, it did feel like we had a bit of a bad run with it. But it's the same for everyone. With stuff like that, it's not the same for everyone. You've now got another layer of people making bad calls. It's just pointless. Just binning for stuff like that. Just let the referee make the call, and that's that. Because he's beyond a joke now. How that wasn't a penalty was ridiculous. But again, I mean, you can see Dean Smith and Neil Cutler's reaction on the sideline. They were
Yeah.
aghast. They could not believe what they'd seen. But the good thing again is a bit more adversity. But we saw a response at times in the second half of the season when things have gone wrong. There hasn't been that response, but you just felt like Villa wanted it today. Villa were at it. And that's when Jack starts to come in the ascendancy a little bit more. Nowhere near full fitness. You can absolutely tell when he's running at full tilt. He's not at his optimum level at all. But even at 50, 60% match fitness, he's still so dangerous. He causes so many problems. And what I was noticing was he just ups the game with everyone around them. People want to give him the ball with the right way pass because they know if they don't, he'll shout at them. And it's almost like when they make a bad pass, it's this, they're so sorry that they're so worried about Jack shouting at them. They know what a good player is and what a weapon he is for Aston Villa. And if Jack makes a bad pass, it's almost like the players think, it doesn't matter, it's Jack. He'll do something really good in 30 seconds time, and it doesn't matter. But just having him on the pitch, even pre-game, I tweeted out, just seeing his name on the team sheet, you think, yeah, we've got a good chance of getting something today. And that's how the game turned out for me. We got 70 minutes out of him. But in that first half, he was the danger man, despite not being anywhere near his best level.
Yeah, 100%. He's, it's no coincidence that we've been so poor without him. He's by far our best player. But it's not just in terms of his ability, it's the way that our team play, the way that we play football. Without him, that interlinking player, we thought Barkley would be the one to step up. We've talked about it before on the pod about Barkley being the man to step up if Jack ever got injured, and he hasn't done it, unfortunately. But we need that type of player because it means we keep the ball up high up the pitch and allows our players to get forward, and it allows us to make opportunities. And Dean Smith I don't know if you saw it on Talk Sport, he was talking about defensively we've still been pretty good. He was saying about XG against stats have still been fairly consistent. I don't think they've been quite as good as early part of the season, but they've still been pretty good. It's just our creativity has been lacking. Obviously, Jack Grealish is a massive miss for any team, but for us especially, let's be honest. We all know, Villa fans all know that without Jack Grealish, we're a bottom half team. We're just probably maybe a 15th, 16th sort of place team. That's the reality situation because that's the squad we've got. Our first 11 is a match for anyone. After that, we struggle a bit, and then without Jack Grealish, it's even worse. But with him, we are on par with the likes of Everton, not far away from Spurs, and better, probably on par with Arsenal, probably slightly better than Arsenal. We'd be with Jack Grealish, we'll probably be maybe 8, 9, 10 points better off, and we'd be near the European places easily. We all know that. And that, from where we were 2 years ago, I don't want to talk too much on this, but all the stuff about Dean Smith being, out and all that kind of stuff, we've been critical of him. He's made poor decisions. He's got to improve, definitely. But all the players, everyone needs to improve. There's no such thing as a perfect player or a perfect manager. But to be where we're at, we're in 2 years, we've managed to get on par with these teams who've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds and been in the Premier League, for much longer than us now, and have almost like a 10-year head start on us. Let's not forget, because it's not just the 3 years that we were out of it. It was the sort of 6-7 years before that where we were treading water.
And we went down at the worst year.
Worst year in terms of finances. And we've had to play catch up. And we've spent 200 odd million pounds, but we've had to basically buy a new squad. And for us to be at that level with Jack, obviously, is amazing. It honestly is amazing. You could not 2 years ago when we were mid-table in the Championship, you couldn't have asked for any more. And it's a shame. It's a shame what's happened these last few months. Yes, it has been a shame, and we definitely need to improve. And there's areas that we need to work on. But with Jack Grealish in the team, this team is an exciting team. It's a team to get
Real
behind.
danger.
It's a really dangerous team. There's work to be done, but then again, we said that there's signs there in the future that we might have some players in the youth setup that might be able to step up and help us out as well next season.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a mate, producer John knows him as well. There's no other word to describe him, but he's an absolute dickhead. You can't have a proper football conversation with him. But today he texted me the first reasonable thing I've ever heard him say, and he said, with Jack Grealish, Villa are somewhere near the top 6.
Yeah.
And it's true, and it shows, because the first half of the season, we were brilliant. Okay, we had a little bit of a stodgy patch straight after COVID, and he was in the team when that was happening. But he's an absolute game changer. Jamie Redknapp, I think, called him world class, or Mika Richards before the game, saying he's world class, and he absolutely is. He's obviously going to be a massive miss for us when he's not there, and we are obviously going to suffer. I mean, I saw someone tweeting today about if you take away the first 4 games of the season that we won, we'd be like 17th or something, or it was due or 17th.
We'd be just above the relegation places. Yeah, with 37
I mean,
points.
that was ridiculous. If you take 4 wins away from any side, they're going to move down the league. It's quite obvious. That's 12 points.
Well, we take away four wins from every side, then we'd be exactly the same position.
Yeah.
So to be fair to him, I think he tweeted that if we'd won another 4 games of the games that we should have won, then would be basically top 6. But it's a pointless looking at that. Dean Smith said, you are where you are at the end of the season on merit. That's the end of it. And I think we as fans need to. I get it. I've been critical. We need to just look at it in the context of the whole season and in the context of what's happened. You mentioned there COVID. That's massive. No other team was hit as bad as us in terms of COVID. No. We had, was it 12, 13 players affected by COVID? That's. Yeah, most of them probably had short-term symptoms or whatever. But I've got mates who've got long COVID, and then they cannot play sport. And these are like former professional rugby players. Play sport every week, go to the gym every week. They can't do it. They physically can't do it because they're so fatigued. Just going for a walk with their dog, they're fatigued. And we're talking about professional athletes here, and at least probably 2 or 3 of them have probably got long-term effects of something like that. And it's going to have a massive impact. Something we haven't really talked about, and probably Smith has sort of. Maybe not try to big up or sort of put in the forefront in terms of press conferences, but I think it has had an impact, surely.
Yeah, and our season's completely different if Jack's not got that injury. Even if he was just out for 3 or 4 games, our season, I'm convinced, looks a lot better than it has done at the moment. It's really unfortunate for us that happened, because you saw what happened tonight. I mean, Spurs aren't in the best shape at the moment. It's probably worth saying it was a really bad display from Spurs. I mean, it was compounded by the own goal from Reguilon. I was just starting to think, why do we never score lucky goals? Nothing lucky ever happened to us? And then Reguilon pulls out his right foot. I think Laurie should probably save it, if I'm being perfectly honest, but he's probably shell-shocked at the ball coming towards him from Reguilon's right peg. Just a lovely goal for us to score, really, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. What an assist by Nakamba as well.
Oh,
lovely
with one of the most I think I've ever seen.
I don't know who was aiming at, but Reguilon had a terrible game, didn't he? He had a really bad game, I thought.
Yeah, he was given a hard time.
Yeah,
he's been off the boil the last month or so.
Reguilon, he's a quality player. He's a quality player, but he had a really bad game. But we deserved that, didn't we? Luck. Finally, I can't remember when is the last time we had a bit of luck. I can't remember. Maybe I'm missing something really obvious, but I can't remember a bit of luck like that.
I mean, the Liverpool game, we obviously had a few deflections.
We sort of used all our luck every one game, didn't we?
Yeah.
We haven't had anything off that.
So nice. We definitely like, it was like a game of Monopoly. We used all our chance cards in that one game against Liverpool. All the deflections for the season were in that Liverpool game, and then. I don't remember any own goals or anything. Like you say, we're probably missing something obvious, but it was good. We deserved that. It felt like justice after the penalty for something like that to happen, because the penalty was just so blatant and we didn't get it. And then the own goal, it kind of leveled it out a little bit for me. I was happy with that. And then we just continued to press, continued to cause them problems. I mean, they were the masters of their own downfall, really. They weren't sharp enough on the ball, Spurs, and our press was really causing them problems. And then I think what started to happen was, you saw why some players probably will quite enjoy playing football without fans in the stadium, because the Spurs fans started to get antsy. They started to get on the team's back, and players like Harry Winks, it really started to affect them. Eric Dyer, and they were rattled. They haven't had that kind of thing for a year and a half, and we took advantage of that and got the goal from Watkins. And then Spurs obviously booed the team off at half time. I really think going. Unbelievable. It's crazy. But honestly, anyone who's going on Sunday to Villa Park, that is just a notification there not to do anything like that, because they just look so stupid. There's so many people who've been dying to get back to the football, even if your team's playing badly. Please, 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 if we're losing at half time to Chelsea on Sunday, do not be that guy that's up there booing the team.
There will be a few. There will be a few. There will be a few.
It's just completely unnecessary. It makes you look stupid. We've all waited so long to get back in the football ground. It doesn't help. We're visibly seeing that Tottenham team. Their fans have worked against them today. It's not helped them at all. Let's not do that on Sunday. Anyone that's going, please, please, please. Even if you've booed the team off the pitch loads of times in your life, let's not do that at half time. Everyone's free to do what they want at the end of the day. But my advice would be, don't do anything like that because it doesn't help, and it showed there. And then
it shows how important support is, isn't it? It shows you how, when you're down as a team, you're struggling. You don't need. We've done it. I've done it at games. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I haven't. Where you're playing badly, and then someone makes a bad pass, and you groan, and then if you're playing a little bit slowly, you're trying to build.
That's
human nature, but it doesn't help. It gets on players' backs, and they really struggle with it. But just quickly, I want to talk about. You mentioned there about Eric Dyer and Dele Alli as well, and talking about England. Just quickly, I mean, I thought today, if you're watching that game, I know Spurs are struggling, but I thought Dele Alli, there's been a lot of talk about him these last few games. He's come back and forth. He's 25 years old. He's still got plenty of ability. He's still got plenty of room to grow. And people talk about how he could be in the England squad, and he's got the ability, or whatever. But I think we saw today, talking about two battles, Grealish and Ali. I thought we saw 60% Jack Grealish basically run the show, and show everyone up, including Harry Kane, and probably be one of the best players on the pitch without even trying, and not even being a full pelt. And then we saw Ollie Watkins absolutely just batter Eric Dyer.
He's a pest.
And I think he's showing, again, Eric Dyer, another player that people talk about, Gareth Southgate likes, he might be in the England squad, etc. I'm not sure. I don't think he's that good. I think we saw today Ollie Watkins, what a good player he is, and what a good player he could be for England as well. And how poor some of these players are, and how good some of our players are, and how we actually need to acknowledge that these players are, these could be the future of the England team potentially that we've got in our team, which is massive.
I think Watkins will be in the 26 now. I actually think he'll be, but Southgate's talking about having the 23 and then having the three who only come in if there's injuries. I think he might be the striker that's the one that comes in if there's an injury. In his first season in the Prem, Watkins will probably be happy with that, happy with the experience, knowing that he'll be part of the England setup going forward. And I just think he's had a phenomenal season. I don't know how many Premier League goals that is now, but I think he's got 5 assists as well. His productivity for his first season in the Premier League, he's been incredible. And he's scored a lot of goals like that, where he's put the defence under pressure and he's forced a mistake and he's worked something for himself out of nothing. And again, if ever a performance epitomised the guy, it was tonight, because he's unbelievable.
Unbelievable player, and probably should have had 2 or 3 more goals as well, and maybe a couple more assists as well. He's hit the post, let's not forget, 7 times, I think.
Yeah, ridiculous.
He should, I think he's got 16 goals and 5 assists in all competitions from memory. I don't know how many of them, maybe 13, 14 in the Premier League. I can't quite remember how many in the Premier League, but for your first year, that's amazing. But
14 in the Premier League, we've just been told.
Just been told, right? 14. That's fantastic, and he probably should be near 20, really. The amount of, he's missed a couple of chances, he's hit the post a few times, like I said, what a player. And
VAR
offside,
tight offsides have killed him.
But he's a resolute player as well, so he doesn't get injured too much. He's only missed because of suspension, so he's a good player to rely on. He's going to be the future for us. And we've talked about it before, but what are your thoughts on potentially? Do you think he should be our number one striker and play up front, or do you think he can still operate from a wide position?
I still think we need another striker. We need another striker in that squad. It's there for everyone to see. If anything were to happen to Watkins, we'd be in massive trouble. It wouldn't be quite as bad as losing Jack Grealish like we have done for a third of the season. If we lost Watkins for any period of time, we'd have struggled, because he sets the tone for the team. He works so hard. He creates stuff just by working hard. He's a ridiculously good footballer as well. We need another striker, so you either buy a striker, someone who can operate as a striker or can play wide, or Watkins becomes that player. Because we saw tonight as well. I think I was on with you when I said about Jack going back to being a number 10 next season. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Jack Grealish is still with the football club. Him going back to number 10, perhaps Watkins operating from the left and getting that striker in, who obviously we all think will probably be Tammy, that Aston Villa will make a move for. I still think that's something that we should do, but you would definitely lose something by not having him as the man up front. I think you can't deny that, because not a lot of strikers can do the things that he does and operate in the manner that he does and just get goals by just being a nuisance and a pest. And that's what he does. He's so good. I did the player of the season vote a few days ago or yesterday, whenever it was. I was so close to voting for Ollie, but I voted for Emily. in the end. But Watkins, for me, is so close because he's had an unbelievable season. And then at the start of the second half, Spurs had their 10-15 minutes where they looked dangerous, looked like they'd had a bit of a rocket at half time. Martinez makes one very good save, although I think Target deserves a lot of credit for that because I think his positioning forced Bergwijn to shoot where Martinez was. So I thought that was really helpful, the way Target got himself back to the line. And then another save, that's a good save, but you'd expect him to make. But we rode that storm. We looked good defensively today, having Concert at right back and Hawes at right centre back. We look way more solid than we did the other day against better opposition.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised to see. I tweeted it before. I wasn't surprised to see Conte right back because I think Elmo's really struggled in games, and I love Elmo. He's one of my favourite players. He's done so much for us. He's one of these players we've signed for nothing. He's had a massive impact on the team. He's got us up. He's a massive part of that. He obviously got the assist in the playoff final. Great servant to the club, but his days are numbered, and he's really struggled, I think. And against Crystal Palace, I think we saw that. And so I wasn't surprised to see Konza, and House and Mings for corners and aerial clearances and things. Fantastic. I do think we struggle on the floor with House because obviously he's not great on the floor with his left foot, and then playing right centre back is obviously a bit more of a struggle. But it didn't matter too much today. But Ollie Watkins, you're talking about there. What a player. I nearly voted for him player of the season. I actually went for Matty Target, another player you just mentioned there. Yeah, because I think Emi Martinez.
Oh, Johnny's leading the wheel. We've got big shots right in there.
We're still on.
We're still here. Honestly, this guy can't resist chucking an intro in the middle of the show. He can't help himself.
I love it.
He cannot help
Maybe
himself.
we should have, like these old school. I was going to say, if you ever watch Bollywood films, you probably haven't, but they normally have an intermission because they're like 10 hours long. So maybe we should have one of those.
He obviously didn't like your vote.
Yeah. But Emi Martinez, don't get me wrong, has probably been probably been our most important signing because of the impact he's had on the team and the performance he's put in. But even then, he's added 3 or 4 dodgy games, I think, still, which is. I mean, I'm not being critical. He's a couple of. Yeah, he's a keeper. You're going to have that. I think overall he's been fantastic. He's probably been our best signing and warrants being player of the season. But I think for me, Matty Target just hasn't had a bad game. We talked about it on our pod last time out. He just hasn't had one bad game. He gave a penalty away against,
and then that was that. That was it, wasn't it?
And that was it, literally. And even that game, he was brilliant. And I just think he's been, even today, he was so good. Every game, he's so good. He's not even just like 6, 7 out of 10. He's 8, 9 out of 10, and he's so good on the floor as well. And Chris Tolan challenged at the wheel.
I knew it was coming. I knew there'd be one thrown in at some point.
Ruined my train of thought now, but yeah, Matty Target for me. But Emi Martinez, Ollie Watkins, Konza, Jack Grealish, they all deserve it. And I mean, how amazing is it to have 5 or 6 players who all could be argued for player of the season? Where last time we were in the Premier, even last season, it was just one player apart from the last few games.
We didn't have awards half the time. I think didn't the awards get cancelled about 3 or 4 years in a row because it was just all so terrible.
Oh, we didn't have a goal of the month competition. Do you remember? Because we didn't score a goal.
Yeah, mate, we've had some bad times.
Come on,
we can laugh about it now.
We can laugh about it now, yeah. I mean, I get it. People are like, oh, it doesn't matter. When people say, oh, where we were 2 years ago, it doesn't matter. But it sort of does matter. Because it puts you back. Because it's hard to build. You've seen it. Everton, I talked about it before. They've spent £20 million plus on 19 different players. And they're pretty much, we're level pegging with them. Let's be honest, we're about the same level.
And loads of those players aren't there anymore, really.
Yeah, I know they've got 6 or 7 points better off than us. Yeah, I get that. But in terms of you've seen the 2 games against them, we're not there. We're there or thereabouts. With that, obviously they lost James Rodriguez for a few games, or James Rodriguez, sorry, but. We've lost Grealish for 1/3 of the season. It's going to have a massive impact. So I think, those teams, Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, Tottenham, we're about that level now, which is amazing. And I think the fact that Leeds have done so well is I think for a lot of fans, annoys them. And I get it. It's because,
you have to give them credit, though.
You have to give them credit. They've got a world-class manager. Every team pretty much would take Bielsa as their manager. So, they've done amazingly well. But it does sort of dampens people's praises for how well Villa have done, because we want to be the best of the rest, but we're not, because Leeds are now. But it's one of those that happens. We'll see what happens next season, but we're building towards something that's hopefully for the future.
Don't want to dwell on Leeds, but I actually think the way we're set up at the moment is more driven towards long-term success than what they're doing. Because I think if Bielsa was to leave, a lot of those players would struggle. I think he's got a lot out of players who aren't Premier League players. And I think if he's not there at Leeds, I don't think they're the same side. Whereas I think the way we're operating now, I feel like longer term with what we've got going on with the academy as well, I just think we're in the better place overall, albeit they've had a fantastic season. I can't take anything away from them. Phenomenal first season back to have won as many games as they have. Fair play to them. But
they're still spent £100 million though. Like that's people
yeah,
forget that. Yeah, I know
yeah, I mean,
they've had a lot of players injured and stuff like that as well. So
yeah,
I'm not. I don't know. They've been fantastic, and I really like Leeds. I really like the way they play. I really like Bielsa. But I completely agree. And everything they do is based on Bielsa, murder ball, and all that kind of good stuff, which, Bielsa's never stayed at one place for too long. So is it sustainable? How will that work going forward? Whereas we're building with Rob McKenzie, with Johan Langer, with the philosophy, with the youth setup, we're building an identity, which is, a bit like what the Villa engine was supposed to be, which obviously was a non-starter, no pun intended. But we're building something here that's going to be there for the future. So if next year we're like, okay, Dean Smith isn't the man to take us forward, another manager comes in and he sort of plugs into that, which is exactly what you want. That's the way you have sustainable growth and sustainable success.
I mean, we will get back to the game in a second, but I've completely lost my thinking by you just talking about the Villa engine. Just makes me laugh. So I'll never forget I'll never forget being sat there interviewing Keith Wilders for the Villa View like years and years ago, and he was talking about this Villa engine. I remember being sat there thinking, I'm not saying a fat lot. I'm not sure this Villa engine actually is anything. And then obviously it turned out that it wasn't. So yeah, just made me laugh. Thinking back to that moment when I was sat at Villa Park speaking to him, which felt ridiculous at the time, but actually everything he was saying to me was ridiculous. In the second half, then Villa, it just felt like we just needed to kill the game, and we just couldn't do it. We'd either make a bad decision or a bad pass right at the death. We need to get better at counter-attacking it. Our counter-attacks felt a bit stodgy today. It felt like we got to good positions, and then the final ball, we couldn't quite get there. The final shot, and you thought Spurs are just going to shithouse something in the last minute here. Something's going to happen. But we suddenly started bringing on the academy, and you're thinking, wow, this is an absolute baptism of fire. We're trying to hold on to a 1-goal lead and nick a goal, but actually neither of them looked phased by it at all. Philogene Badice looked pretty good, I thought, when he came on. And Carney just straight away just settled straight into the first team, didn't he? And nearly bagged a goal on his debut. His first shot for the senior team pings back off the post. It was nice to see those two come on, wasn't it?
Oh, fantastic. And I was surprised. I didn't expect Dino to put him in, but he put him in, right at the death of the game.
Didn't it?
He hinted at it, yeah. But I thought maybe they'd come on if we're losing the game or whatever. But I love that picture because I mean they added to our team. They made a massive difference because we were struggling a little bit at that point, and they came and held onto the ball. They were
there were some nice
nice positions. They were confident. They were aggressive in the tackle as well. Philogene Badice is a quite a small lad and he's still growing. He's a massive talent.
I didn't realise how small he was until he came.
He's a small lad, but he's a good player. He's a wiry character, and I've seen him play a few times. He's probably been in the first team more than Carney Chukwuemeka, I think, in terms of the substitutions in the matchday squad. So he's obviously highly thought of. But Chukwuemeka, what a player! He's
got it, hasn't he?
Persler talked about him being the best 16-year-old in the country, and I think we've seen glimpses of that. And under 18 football is massively different to under 23 football, which is massively different to men's football. But it's hard to judge him in a few minutes. But you can see the ability he's got. He's at the post with a nice shot. He's looked good and confident in the ball, played some nice 1-2s. The fact that Dean Smith has trusted them in a game where we're winning 2-1 and Spurs are in the ascendancy shows you the kind of manager he is. He's willing to give these players chances. He's done it with Jacob Ramsey earlier in the season at points. Then again, even when we're winning games where we thought, actually, is this the right time to put him on? Surely you put him on when we're winning.
It's big moments.
He's trusting them. That's not many managers do that, and I think that's credit to him. But these players are our future, and obviously the FA Youth Cup final, which I know you're going to, which is massive.
That's what's held Carney back. I think people are saying he should have been in the first team, he should be doing this, he should be doing that, but really they've wanted him for this cup run, and he will have wanted to apply this cup run. The cup run's very good for this player's development as well. So playing 90 minutes in a high intensity game like that for the under 18s probably is more important than getting 5-10 minutes off the bench. You probably won't see him on Sunday because of the game on Monday now. But it's just a fact that game is more important to him than playing in a nothing Premier League game for Villa, because we're going to finish 11th now. Whatever happens, it's more important for him to play in that game than it is for him to play against Chelsea in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, and it means a lot to these players. If you just
they love it.
You see what they post on the social media and what they're like when they're playing these games. That means a massive amount to them. And the likes of the big clubs like Chelsea, Man City, you know, they've dominated this competition. They've done well in this competition. Villa have obviously got a good past in this competition. We've won it before. With I think it was the Moore brothers, wasn't it? With Luke Moore and Stephen Moore, with beating Wayne Rooney, I think it was.
Ridgewell,
So yeah, exactly. So for these players, you know, they've worked so hard to get to this position. They've put in some amazing performances. They want to see it through. You know, that's what's important to them, and they've got plenty of time. You know, they're the future of our first team, so they will have plenty of opportunities. And whether they go out alone or whether they are part of the matchday squad next season, you know, we'll wait and see. But they've all got massive abilities, and there's a few players like them. But these two definitely, I think, are. I think even more so than Louis Barry. I know Louis Barry is the headline grabber, and
Carney's the one.
Carney Chukwuemeka's the one, and I think Philogene Badace is good, and I think Bogard is another one that's highly thought of as well, and then obviously Kane Kessler as well, who's been in a few squads. You know, these are the 3 or 4 players I think are probably next in line to be involved, a bit like Jacob Ramsey, and add massive to our squad. You know, we can only name 25 players in our squad next season, but these players don't count, so they're really important to have in your squad, and the fact that you can rely on them if you do get a few injuries is massive, and hopefully that it's not even relying on them for injuries. It's, you know, getting them part of the team, a bit like what Man City done with Phil Foden and things like that. I'm not saying they're at the same level, but Carney Chukwuemeka, there's no reason why he can't attain to that kind of level. He's got all the ability in the world.
Yeah, he's 17 as well. You know, he's going to be in and around it next season. He's going to play a big part for Villa. I don't think he'll be one that ever goes on loan. I think he'll just be kept around at the club, and he'll develop at Aston Villa. And, you know, I think he'll get games next season. You hear about the interest from the big sides in him. That's happening for a reason, because he's a very good player, but he's tied up to Villa, so we've got him for the next few years. And if he gets game time, he'll be here for the foreseeable future. And yeah, he's going to be a big part of that squad next season. And I really enjoyed watching them both come on today. I thought it was really good. Anything else you wanna discuss? I think we kind of we went off on a few tangents actually about Villa in general, but that was it was an enjoyable game, wasn't it? I really sat there with a big smile on my face. I don't know. I
didn't mean to talk about Leeds so much. I wasn't mentioning them. It's not a Leeds podcast or anything like that. It's just, I think, you know, we're obviously trying to attain to these certain levels, and I think it does dampen people's mood a little bit. But I think in terms of the game itself, I think what we saw today is Villa of the first few months, and this is the kind of, you know, we've seen it in glimpses. We saw it against Everton away. We've seen it the first half against Crystal Palace. We've seen it in first half against Burnley. We've seen it in various different games where this team has got massive ability, potential. This is the youngest squad in the Premier League. It's got plenty of room to grow. Obviously, a big factor in all of this is Jack Grealish, and whether he's here next season. I think he will be, but you know, there'll be pursuers out there, and I think he's obviously integral to us doing well next season. But you know, he's a world-class player. He's on the level of, he's one of the best players, if not one of the, you know, he's probably top 2 or 3 players for me in the Premier League. So we've got a squad made up of pretty much a few top 8, top 6 players with potential. Most of the players are mid-table to lower mid-table quality, and then you've got Jack Grealish's sort of top 2 standard. So obviously he's going to have a massive impact. But this team has got, like I said, youngest average squad in the Premier League. So it's got massive ability, massive room to grow. You know, we've seen players like Konza, Louise, Target. You know, these players have improved. So it's Matty Cash. He's got, again, massive ability. You know, these players have improved so much just this season and from last season as well. Imagine what they're going to be like, you know, in the this time next season, the season after. You know, potentially this squad's going to be together for the next few years. It's a squad you can get behind, and I'm really excited about the future, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot to like about this Villa team. Been a difficult few months, but today was a good reminder that there's plenty to be excited about, and there's plenty to look forward to as a Villa fan. Quick word for our sponsors before we go. Purity, always sponsoring the post-match points. We've really enjoyed working with them this season. If you use the code #VillaView, you'll get 10% off all their beer, or their Villa beer as well. So yeah, go and check out their website, get yourself some beer, because the stuff, quite frankly, is amazing. It's so nice. So go on there and get yourself some stuff. Also, watch out for the video coming out in the next few days from Purity. I was lucky enough to sit down with Matty Cash, Emi Martinez and Ollie Watkins a few weeks ago and talk to them about their last 12 months. So yeah, watch out for that. I'll be plugging it all over my Twitter, I'm sure. So yeah, watch out for that. It was really good to sit down and talk to some members of the current squad about the last year in Claret and Blue. So yeah, watch out for that. Thanks to Omar for joining me as well. It's been a pleasure to speak to you as always. Obviously, there's fans back at the game on Sunday. There won't be a post-match point straight after the game as there has been all season, but there will be some form of show in the days coming. And Omar mentioned as well, you got the Youth Cup game as well. So we'll be doing something next week around those two games. Just watch out for them. We'll keep you informed on social media. Have a great rest of the evening. One thing left to say, up the Villa.
Up the Dino.